Do you struggle to communicate effectively? Do you wonder if there is some secret to effectively communicating with other people so that the words come out of your mouth easily and effortlessly and your message resonates with your audience? Well, if you've ever asked yourself these questions, then sit down and stay tuned, because in today's video, I'm going to reveal 3 simple steps to effective communication. Hey guys, my name is Paul Macetta. Welcome to the channel. I am a researcher in the field of influence, persuasion, and human communication. So if you like learning about human communication, then go ahead and consider subscribing. So like I said, in today's video, I'm going to give you 3 simple steps to effective communication. So the very first thing that you need in effective communication is clear messaging. And I can tell you that after working with dozens of clients in all sorts of businesses, verticals, niches, life situations, the number one thing that almost every one of them struggle with when it comes to creating and communicating an effective message is clarity. They lack clarity. They're not clear on what their message is. They're not clear on what the outcome they want to produce is. They're not clear on the result or the emotion or the feeling or the idea that they want to stimulate or convey in their audience. And most importantly, they're not clear about who they are and what they represent. In other words, lots of times they try to be many things to many people. And when you try to be everything to everyone, you wind up being nothing to no one. So it's always better to be specific and almost polarizing in the ideas that you convey, because if you're wishy-washy or you're somewhat in the middle, they're not going to resonate with people. But the very first step is getting clear. So there are a couple of key questions that you want to ask yourself in order to get clarity. Number 1 is, what is the message that I am ultimately trying to convey here? To get a little bit more specific, what is the idea that I'm trying to convey? You know, I always tell people that really behind every message is an idea. You are trying to convey a way of thinking to somebody else. Now, that way of thinking could stimulate an emotion in them. It could stimulate a new belief system in them. It could stimulate them to take certain actions. But at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is influence their way of thinking as it relates or pertains to a specific topic. So the number 1 question that you want to ask yourself is, what is the idea that I am trying to convey with this message? The second thing that is ultimately very, very important when it comes to effective communication is active listening. Now, I know this sounds kind of cliche because people have been talking about this for hundreds of years. Like if you read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, like one of the things that he talks about in there is like how to actively listen to other people, which, you know, that book was written, I don't know, probably 100 years ago at this point. But the reason why it's cliche is because it's true. It is a fundamental principle to effective communication. If you want to be able to effectively communicate with other people, you need to be actively listening to what's going on. Imagine a comedian that walks into an arena and starts telling jokes without the ability to read the room, to understand what's resonating and what's not resonating, and knowing how to pivot. Well, if you've ever watched a comedian go on stage and consistently bomb joke after joke after joke, it's because they probably do not know how to read the room, and they've never really done it historically. Whereas like the seasoned pros can go up and they could start using some material, and then when they realize that it's not working, they know how to pivot, they know how to move. But the very first step in that is knowing how the audience is responding. Because if you're not paying attention to how the audience is responding, you're not going to even know that it's time to pivot. The same is true if you watch like a really good musical artist or even a DJ. When they go into a room and they start playing music, they don't just play the music that they want to play. They read the room. They start to feel the energy. They start to decide, is this the right record to play at this time of the night? What is the next record that I'm going to play after this that's going to create some sort of an emotional contrast or emotional tension? What record do I need to play right now in order to shift the mood? Is the music that I'm playing right now resonating with these people? Well, the same is true when you communicate with people, whether it's one-on-one or one-to-many. You need to constantly be actively listening to what your audience is telling you, not just verbally. Yes, it's important to listen to what they're actually saying with their mouths, but it's equally as important to be listening and paying attention to what they are doing with their body language, what they are communicating non-verbally, because what this is going to do is enable you to tailor your message in the best way possible so that it resonates with them. And then last is your nonverbal language. So aside from just paying attention to the nonverbal language of your listeners, you need to also be paying attention to your nonverbal language, because your nonverbal language is going to have a drastic impact on your verbal message. So if your nonverbal language, if your body language is not in sync with what you're saying with your verbal language, there's going to be a disconnect there. And your audience is going to sense that disconnect. They might not sense it consciously, like they might not look at you and say, well, his verbal language doesn't match his nonverbal language. It usually doesn't work that way. It usually happens subconsciously. They're going to detect some sort of a disconnect with you. So you want to use proper hand gestures. You want to gesture typically from the navel to the chest area. This is like the zone of safety when it comes to gesturing. You want to keep your arms back. You want to keep your chin up. And you always want to be conveying energy when you communicate with other people. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, leave me a like, leave me a comment, give me some feedback, let me know what you think. If you like it, I'll put out more videos like this. And once again, if you enjoy this type of content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you get updated when I release more videos like this.